Okay, we're gonna check to make sure. And then I'm gonna go make a quick video on, I think it is. I'll check here in a little bit. It just takes a while. Okay, so we're gonna make this video about NEXO. Okay, and NEXO is a blockchain company, and you guys have heard me talk about Bitcoin, blockchain, all of that. I got in touch with NEXO here recently, and they have a really interesting business model, and which is unusual because most of these blockchain companies don't have a real business model or don't have a very good one. And I'm always like, ooh, I don't know what's gonna happen. But there's so much hype around that market that it seems like everybody is getting all this money. But again, a lot of those investors are probably gonna lose their shirts. So anyway, so we're gonna talk about NEXO, we're gonna talk about money, and then at the end, I'm going to give a crucial tip. So if you are from NEXO, which you'll be receiving this video, then I would definitely stay to the end and listen to that. Also, if you are, I know the competition of NEXO is maybe Salt, and then another one that I know is Alchemy. And as a matter of fact, the CEO of Alchemy and I were in a program in London a couple of years ago, and but he wasn't involved in that market yet. And actually, we saw each other here in Dallas like a couple months ago. And so Justin, if you're listening to this, you might pay attention to the end. I'm gonna give a crucial tip about what is the one thing that one of these companies is gonna do. Probably just one, because that's the way things work. Because the first one that gets there is the one that gets the prize. So stay to the end if you want to hear that crucial $1 million tip, which I'm only putting in this video because I'm going to be sending it to the guys at NEXO who got a hold of me. So anyways, so we're going to talk about so what is NEXO. Now, if you're not familiar with blockchain, with Bitcoin, a lot of the things I'm going to tell you about might be like a little bit over your head. So you might refer back, you can scroll down. I made a video back in December about blockchain, Bitcoin, and all that, kind of summarizing a lot of things. It takes a while to get kind of your head wrapped around this world. But if you're in any kind of financial services, really if you are an intermediary of any sort, whether in real estate or in financial services or in even e-com, everything, I would be very interested in this because this has the potential to knock a bunch of people out. And the ones that are on it, the ones that are the cutting edge, they're going to be the ones that have competitive advantage. Why? Because competitive advantage resides in scarcity. It doesn't reside in ubiquity. If everybody's doing the same thing, there's no advantage. The market just flattens out. So you have to be in the cutting edge, kind of risking it a little bit. You might fall on your face, but you might have a huge upside on one of the plays that you make. That's what venture capitalists is. Some people call them a vulture capitalists. And so anyways, so let's talk about this real quick. So NEXO is basically an instant crypto-backed loan. So why do you need this? Well, one of the biggest barriers, especially a barrier for a mainstream market, is, well, if I buy this funky tokens, right, the Bitcoin or Ethereum, all these things, Litecoin, how can I use them in the real world? And that's been one of the biggest things. Like, I still used to have to convert them back into fiat money, back into government-backed money, issued money, so that you can do something with them, right? That's one of the biggest barriers. But then if you do that, then you lose that ownership of the crypto that you have. And perhaps, what if Bitcoin goes up by 1,000 tomorrow, which we all know it can. We won't talk about the pros and the cons to that in this video, but it can. And so you just basically lost $1,000 if you, let's say, owned a Bitcoin, or if you owned several, then even more. So here's the business model that they have. You basically, as a customer, the first thing that you do is you transfer your crypto to sort of a collective wallet in NEXO, and they call it NEXO Oracle, because that service also calculates, okay, based on this crypto that you have, this is the loan that I can give you. So they give you a loan, and it's instant, right? Why is it instant? Because you don't need credit checks, because this is not secure by your reputation, by your promise to pay back. This is secure by the crypto that you have, okay? And then you can pay back their multiple repayment options, which is a very interesting concept. like this is like revolutionary, really. Like you don't think that there's more options to pay a loan, but there are. And I don't know if I have time to go into depth into each one, but anyways, and this is trusted too because everything is secure by, again, blockchain. So it's not like they own your assets either. It's like a smart contract is instituted so that if you pay back, then you have access to your crypto because you have, or you can even deposit more crypto and then pay your loan that way. So that's kind of interesting. So if you guys think about or remember the acronym that I discussed the first time, or one of my first videos about blockchain, the acronym that I use there to remember all the different things that blockchain technology does is ATOMIC, which basically stands for assets, trust, ownership, money, identity, and contracts. So assets meaning the digitalization of assets. So an interesting tip, the DTCC it actually has is 37 trillion shares that are centralized. They're digital, but they're centralized. Okay, and so what's very interesting about that is that all these things make sense to be part of a blockchain. Okay, so and then just if I didn't say it, so is the deposit, trust, and clearing corporation. I got written down here just in case I forgot. So this is a centralized place which they have all these digital assets. So what's interesting about this is that this would totally be, and 37 trillion that's not a small sum of money, right? That's like almost 2 times the size of the entire U.S. economy. So that's a lot of money. So what's happening here is that a lot of this can be certainly become eventually part of the whole market that we deal with. So the potential, the upside for this is huge. So basically, again, the biggest barrier has been the fact that we need always to convert money back to fiat, and then we lose the ownership. So what this does is you get to keep ownership of your crypto, but you get the loan right away, so you can have you can use your wealth sort of in the real world, so to speak, and then you can pay back in different ways and so on and so forth. So this is a very interesting business model. Again, it's also quick because it's basically instant. All these calculations are done basically on the blockchain and by the oracle here that they have. And then once you pay back the loan, or even it's still, if you haven't paid it back, you can make the calculation. You may also withdraw a portion of it. And so you have complete control over, again, your fiat, your actual money that you're using, or your crypto, and you keep ownership of it. So that is what is so fascinating about this. And again, because of the blockchain, you have things like a real management of assets. You have trust, because you know that this is verified, and then you get to keep ownership, or you have verified ownership. Of course, blockchain also deals with money, which is what we're talking about, and then identity, which is not everybody, nobody's gonna just like come in and steal your thing, because they literally can't, cryptographically they can't. And then of course the contracts that are introduced in there are what drive this whole process. So, okay. I just ran through a whole lot of stuff. I'm sorry if a lot of it went over your head. I assume that most of the people who are watching this know these concepts and are already familiar with them. But here comes the $1 million tip. Okay, here is the $1 million tip. Because this is, for me, such a sound business model. And then once I learned it, I thought, wow, there's some real utility here. Because that has, in fact, been one of the biggest barriers of crypto being used in a mainstream market. Well, I always have to convert back to fiat, and even though we have exchanges like Coinbase that make it pretty easy to do now, even though not everybody knows how to do that, it's a lot easier than it used to be. It used to be freaking hard to buy Bitcoin back in the day. So now this is getting easier and easier, but still there's a barrier. So how can these companies, if you're NEXO, how can you leverage this? If you're Salt, if you are Alchemy, so Justin, here you go, and this is for free. Just just for you guys. So I'm gonna erase this real quick, and I'm going to draw something else. Okay, this is your classic early technology adoption curve. So here's the adoption curve, and it goes something like this, like that. Okay, so this is the adoption curve right here, and these are different segments of it. Okay, so here's a $1 million tip. So basically at here we have, this is the early market. Okay, and the early market is basically what we see that it's adopting the Bitcoin, the blockchain technology, all of that. This is the early market. These are the guys that are happy about this, especially the early adopters here. They're just ecstatic, right? They can't get more, and they'll figure out all the technology, and they'll figure out all the glitches because they know that this is really cool stuff. And then, of course, the visionary hears. So the guys that are driving this early market are the visionaries. Okay, and then the visionaries are the ones that see the competitive advantage. They see, man, if I get on this quick, this is going to be great. This is just going to be awesome. And so they are willing to pay a premium. They're willing to spend the time. They're willing to do all these things. So these are the guys that go to the conferences. These are the guys that are always finding out. As you can probably tell, I'm a visionary, right? So I'm one of those people who I'm always like, if there's a new piece of technology, I might try it and see what happens, right? So this is what this is, because we know we stand to gain a whole lot of stuff. We pay premium pricing for stuff and things like that. But a business model like NEXO has the advantage, has that crucial element of, look, you guys can really earn the mainstream. Okay? Now, what's interesting is that the mainstream is driven by a completely different kind of customer. Okay? And that's called the pragmatist. Okay? And the pragmatist is completely different than the visionary. The pragmatist is not interested in trying to find out and try to work things out and just like the name it says, they're pragmatic, right? This is the main thing that they're aiming. This is the $1 million tip that I'm going to lay on you guys. They're looking for the market leader. Okay? As soon as they have the market leader, that's where they're going to purchase in. So if you notice, I put this big old space here because there is a huge space between the visionaries and the pragmatists. The problem is that pragmatists, they don't care how many visionaries come to them with this great idea of great business, blah, 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 all this stuff. They don't care. What pragmatists do, and this is a catch-22 situation, what they do is that they're looking at other pragmatists to see what technologies they have adopted. So you can say that NEXO is over here, and then Salt too, and then my friend's company, Alchemy, also. And they're trying to get here, okay? So now this is a great number of companies right there, 3. Because that's exactly what the pragmatists are looking for. So I'm not going to reveal that piece, but what I'm revealing is that, look, you have to be the market leader. You have to come here and be established as the top guy. If you are NEXO, if you are Salt, if you are Alchemy, you have to be, okay, now we're going to be that company that makes it. Now, what are the factors that you're looking at? You're looking at 3 things. Pragmatists are looking at 3 things, okay? I'm going to reveal just one more piece of knowledge, so you could savor it in your mouth, and water, and your mouth can be made water with desire to learn the other 2, right? That's what you would call me. So the first one, the one I'm going to reveal is basically a whole product development. Dev. So what that means is that, like I said, these guys are not interested in, so like visionaries, we buy something and then we realize we're going to have to make it work somehow with our situation, right? Like if we buy something electronic and it has to use the internet, we know that we need an internet connection, and then a router, and then all these other things that are attached to it. But see, a pragmatist, they're not. They want it to, out of the box, they want it to work. So that's what we call the whole product concept. So you got to be able to develop that for them to do it. So what does that look like? How easy can you make it so that they can use their crypto and transfer it to the wallet? How easy can you make the loan process? How transparent can you make all these sort of things? Now, what's very interesting about NEXO and their business model, which I thought was pretty cool, is that, and the reason that I titled the talk, the Disintermediation continues, is because you could do something like this already, but you see, if you're dealing with transactions, if you're dealing with commissions, if you're dealing with fees, well, it becomes pretty expensive to do anything with money. And so what a company like NEXO has come and done is they're basically not an intermediary of sorts. They are the product, and they're going to give you a loan, and I'm sure it's going to have some kind of interest, some kind of benefit, so they can make a profit. But all the things going in and out are not subject to fees, and are not subject to taxes as they go in. Now, I'm not a tax professional. Please consult with your CPA for tax advice. It's not tax advice. What I'm saying is that if you do these kinds of transactions back and forth, for example, inside of Coinbase, you are subject to taxes. You are, every time you go back and forth. But because of the ecosystem that they've developed, they're minimizing every time that you have that back and forth between fiat and money, because this is a loan, right? So, and then also, since you're keeping the crypto, you keep ownership of it, and if it goes up in value, you can actually pay back your loan without having much. Now, if it goes down in value, you can't, but you don't lose either, because you're borrowing against you're borrowing against the value of the crypto. You're not borrowing the crypto converted to fiat. Does that make sense? In other words, you retain ownership of the crypto, that's what's so powerful about this, and so a very interesting business model. And I'm very excited to make a video about this, and also I'm very excited to be in touch with the guys at NEXO. So I hope that makes sense. I'm almost done. I'll try to make these talks 20 minutes. I made one yesterday. It was super long, but it probably deserved it. And I got emotional and philosophical, which, I love to do. But I think let's recap. So NEXO is a crypto-backed instant loan platform, okay? And there are no fees associated with going back and forth. You have multiple ways to pay. No credit checks, because they are basically secured by the crypto that you own, not by your credit-wise reputation. And they're fast, because since it's secured by the crypto, as soon as that gets cleared, there's no underwriting that needs to take place. Nobody has to take a look at your dental records to see if you're a good guy or a good girl or a good person to pay back this stuff. They have it secured. Their collateral, so to speak, is the crypto. So the disintermediation continues, guys. If you are, like I said, in any kind of business where you're an intermediary and you think this is going to last forever, blockchain really has a chance to take all these guys out, and there will be companies that will take advantage of that and will be the one to take. So if you're on one of these companies, if you're NEXO, my advice, besides hiring me, is that you definitely get on this boat and realize, how can you establish yourself here? How can you scheme the territory here so that the pragmatists recognize you as the market leader, and then they realize, okay, I'm going to be supporting this company. This is the company I'm going to be using for my loans. This is the company that I'm going to be doing. Now, there's a couple ways to cross this big space here. I just detailed one of them. And there are two more powerful things, so I wouldn't advise you just go out and try to do it with this information. But I wanted to make it valuable enough so it's like, oh wow, that's kind of cool, right? And I think this is very important to be market leader. Also, market leader gives you something that I talk about a lot, and I talked in one of my previous videos about me and my mentor making a program about this, which is called Position to Win. And so market leadership gives you positioning in the mind of someone. So right now in the early market, there's a lot of hype and a lot of people are doing all kinds of stuff. But once we go to a mainstream market, and once we are able to cross there, and if you are one of these companies, NEXO, Salt, or Alchemy, and you're not like hurrying the heck up to cross that barrier and become the crypto loan position, if you own that, you have an asset as a business that no one else has. There's my video, there's my value, and send me a message, comment, whatever you like. Tell me what you thought, if it was too confusing, if it was way over your head, maybe I can help explain a little bit or give you some resources that you could look at. It's a whole world, and it's a brave new world, and in the world of finance, new finance going on, new money, new ways of dealing with money, it was pretty much the industry, you know, maybe with healthcare and a couple of these other industries that, you know, are just ripe for disruption. But since they're so heavily regulated, it takes a while. So this is one of the companies that I'm very impressed on their business model, on how they're moving forward, and if I get to work with NEXO, I'll give you guys a big update on that, because there are some talks there. So yeah, so let me know what you thought. Hopefully this made sense. This is $1 million tip. And I'm gonna leave this video up for a little bit, but probably not gonna leave it there forever, because this is just too much gold. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.